Yo guys, what's going on? So today we're going to look at my EUIC run with Terapagos, the list itself, the run I had at EUIC, and things I would change after rotation to make it viable in the meta, which I definitely think it will be. I just think there's going to be definitely some huge changes to this deck, probably for the better, for it to keep up. Because obviously we lose Guardy, we lose Gholdengo, we lose the Ditto. For this list specifically, we lose Ditto, which is huge, and we lose Mew, which is also a big hit. We lose Super Rod, we lose Turo, and we lose Vessel. These are not great things for us to lose, as they do have massive impacts in most of our matches. Like most matches post-rotation, pre-rotation, you want to be opening the Ditto, so you either have the out to Wellspring or the Fan Rotom, especially against Gholdengo, Guardy, Pult. Pult stays one of the biggest decks in format, which is why the Wellspring is going to be so good. But then again, Shaman could be a thing. However, I personally decided to go with the no Mawile list because I wasn't too worried about Guardy. I'd seen Gholdengo had been quite big in the format, and Pult had been quite big in the format. Mawile didn't really do anything against them, and Clefairy did, because it's an 8 bench and a 4 bench. So 8 bench for Terapagos and 4 bench for Dengo, knocks out a Dengo with Lillie, worst case scenario. Pikachu also does it, and so they're like the two ones that are okay for it, and you start the game off with a Wellspring. But Pult also is a lot easier to kill with the Lillie's Clefairy, so it was much easier to be able to consistently kill Pult than it was to tech around Guardy. And as I say, I wasn't too scared about Guardy for this championship, which I did hit 2 Guardy, and yes, they didn't go so well, but all my other matches seemed quite balanced, which was nice. So we'll get on to the matches I played, and I'll do a breakdown of every match and what you can do to make it more consistent and better for the playstyle of the game. So we started off against a Mega Venusaur. This was interesting because I had to start the game with... They didn't open at the start of the game. They didn't open Chikorita, and they didn't play Bulbasaur. They just played Wellsprings. Not Wellsprings, Teal Masks. So Terapagos was huge in this matchup. I just Crown Opaled, and then when they start putting the Bulbasaurs and the Chikoritas down, it was Boss Wellspring. Which Crown Opal in this matchup goes huge if they don't. Normally they do play the evolutions though, so I'm going to focus on that style. If you can start the game with a Wellspring, it's great, because you just go torrential pump, 100, 120, knockout, and then you can go Pegos or Pikachu, or however you want to take the remaining 4 prizes on the Teal Masks. Killing a Venusaur can be hugely difficult, only because of the HP and the healing. Because if it couldn't heal, you could go like Fan Rotom Pikachu, but the Venusaur has an ability to heal itself when it attacks, which is really inconvenient. So you do start the game with Wellspring and then try and take 4 prizes with cards like Terapagos, Lillie's Clefairy, and Pikachu. Also, Bloodmoon late game is very good. So that was a 2-0 win. That was quite quick. And then we went to round 2 and we played Megrabsol. That finished 2-1 to my opponent. Only because they have the angle of Munkidori, whatever Terra you've got in play, Claw of Darkness with Iona. He played Unfair Stamp in his particular list, so he went Stamp, Claw of Darkness. So I'm left with a 1-card hand, and he's chose the card to discard. So after being left with a 1-card hand, if that 1 card isn't amazing, you lose. So that did happen 2 times. So that wasn't a very great matchup. But then we hit a Zard Pidgeot, and it was very interesting. So you start the game with Pump normally, but he played Shaman. So the Shaman on board was very difficult. So the strategy there was he was bedewing for quite early in the starter match, so we go Fan Rotom. So we took 2 prizes with the Fan Rotoms, and then he went Boss Killer Teal Mask, which I was like, okay, that's inconvenient. However, though, we play 4 Crispin, so it's just Lillie's Clefairy, Crispin, attack, knockout, and then he kills the Clefairy. We go Night Stretcher Crispin, do it again, or Super Odd Nest Ball Crispin, whichever one you want to do, but it's quick knockouts on the Dragapult, which is great. The Pidgeot didn't actually see play for all 3 games, which was amazing. And however, he did play Watchtower, so this is why we played the 3 count of the Area 0 Underdepths, because we are very scared of the Watchtower. As I'll show you later in my game against Calvin Connor, the opening Watchtower was what ruined me. Yes, so we mainly focus on Lily's Clefairy in this matchup. However, they can attack with, I believe, 1 minute, I'm just going to check his list. I'll show you his list just so we can see. He did end up going Badoo for quite a lot of the game, and even going Mind Bend on my Terras, which can be inconvenient. Oh, this wasn't the Watchtower list, never mind. So yeah, it was Jamming Tower, which was annoying in this list. It was the Guardies that played Watchtower. So Jamming Tower prevent my crystals, so I have to go like E-Switch or try and bump the stadium. If you can bump the stadium, it's better, but otherwise you go like Crispin E-Switch, because we play Teal Mask, so we go Teal Dance onto Teal Mask, and then E-Switch onto the Waterpon, and then we can Crispin and attack. But if the Shaman's on board, ideally that's not doable. So you can Fan Rotom knock out Badoos and try and take 2 with that, and then go on a 2-2 line, which isn't too bad. So again, that was a 2-1 finish to me. I felt very confident in the matchup, but again, it wasn't Pult Noir, so it wasn't as difficult to think. Greninja, very simple matchup. Greninja was... He opened Froakie and then Rare Candy Greninja very quickly. And I think the issue for him was Greninja is weak to Psychic. So it was literally just quick knockouts and consistent knockouts. Even when I bricked and didn't get any Hoothoot out turn 1, it was very easy to just go Lily's Crispin, throw a load of cards down on bench and chill, and it's okay. So if you're ever in this matchup and you do brick early, you don't necessarily need to worry, because they can only hit your Clefairy for 170, meaning that they hit for 170 and you just attack again, and you're potentially taking 4 prizes for them taking 2. Yes, they can Clops or Noir it, but then you're taking an extra prize anyway, and it's not anything to worry about. So that was very fast 2-0. Zoroark was questionable. Again, they played the 2 of Watchtower, so it was very Watchtower dependent. Again, that's why we played the 3rd stadium, so we can consistently bump the Watchtowers. But yes, again, this match is very start off with Torrential Pump, and the good thing about Zoroark is it's weak to grass, so Iron Leaves and Teal Mask play a huge part in this matchup. Also Pikachu, because the 300 is great for the Zoroark 280. And you try and avoid playing Latias and Mew, because Latias and Mew are easy ways for them to take 2 prizes. Especially Mew, as they can copy Flame Body Cannon and hit Mew for 180 and still hit 90 on the bench. So they're potentially killing Mew and Hoothoot, which is never good. So you just never play Mew in this matchup. And so you early Wellspring, they set up Zoroark. You can have a Teal Mask. My personal thing to do is go Teal Dance and then Crispin onto Leaves. Play Leaves down, it has to be from hand. Crispin onto it and move that over, because you always want to keep a Teal Mask on the bench to be able to use that Teal Dance ability, as it is draw support and good energy attachment. There's nothing much else to... I'd say in his list the only worry was Black Belt's training, because it did mean his Reshiram could hit me for 210. He didn't play the Binding Mochi, which was great for me, because again, 210 is a very annoying number for him to be able to hit. Dylan did play this very well though. The bunny wasn't really much of a worry, because every time the Baneri came down, I Torrential Pumped it. And the only worry is though, if this does come down, you're very unlikely to kill it. Because of the 330 HP, you do have to 2-shot it, so you just try and avoid having to have a fight with a Lopunny at all, and you boss around or you Torrential Pump around it. The only time you ever really punch in this is if the monkey isn't in play, and you can go like Torrential Pump this and 120 on a Zoroark to kill it, or a Zoroark to kill it, or a Darumaka, and it's convenient to do it at that time, or even 120 on the monkey if you can get rid of that, because then next turn you have a Terapagos or a Clefairy or a Pikachu or Bloodmoon potentially. There's so many like opportunities to punch, and there's not much they can do in response. So it's really good because that matchup then becomes easy to win. And then if they get watchtowers down, yes, you are sometimes stalled a turn, but it's not ever the end of the world because you can wait a turn if you need to pass. I did end up in the first match having to go pass for like 3 turns while I was getting Bedewed and Watchtower. I drew the stadium into Noctowl and then everything's okay, but if you do struggle to get that stadium out, it can be an issue. I don't think there's much else to say on that matchup. No, he didn't play Shaman, so it was great. So again, I can just torrential pump. And then we played a Slowking. This was a ridiculously fast matchup. I went first, pump, and he scooped. I went again, pump. Just pump every turn. He couldn't set anything else up, so that we didn't actually get a game. It was over in 2 turns, both games. The Charizard Noctowl I was against, very good player. Steven played this very well. It was started with pump. Obviously against Dawnzard, you want to be targeting the Hootoots, because once Dawnzard sets up Hootoots, it's very good for them. But the good thing is they do not play Watchtower, so you don't have to worry about that. The Stamp is your biggest worry in this matchup. So you do have the case of, if they don't open Clefairy, which if they open Clefairy, it's weird, because if we go first, we can't do anything. On their turn, they can go like Fan, Jet, move, then retreat back into Clefairy if they have to. Our main issue in this matchup is if they set up quick enough, if they go ahead on prizes, by the time we get down to 2, they've got a Briar play for game, which is really inconsistent. So if there are 2 Charmanders on board, it's probably best to knock out both Charmanders. But if you've got a Tera on board already, like Terapagos, which is their only other Tera, you are always killing the Hootoots, so they have no response. If you can go, let's say, Iono, or even if you don't Iono, even if you just have to go Crispin Crystal, or Crispin Iron Bundle, or if you went first, you go Attach, next turn you go Attach Crystal, Boss, you always want to be trying to clear their Hootoots off the board, because without Hootoots, this deck can become very weak and very vulnerable to attack. Which is the best thing about why it's the reason I stopped playing Dawnzard, because it can be very inconsistent. It's a very good deck, but if the board starts to get wiped, for most decks it is hard if the board gets wiped, but this struggles especially. The unfair Stamp came in game 2 quite heavily. They go Stamp to 2, and then they take a big knockout. I think it was my Wellspring that they knocked out before, so I pump. They go knockout Wellspring Stamp, and there's not much of a response you have, but if you can deny them access to Noctowl, it does stop it much lowers the potential of this happening. And the Dust line isn't very powerful, so they play 2-1-1. If it was like 2-2-2, you'd be like consistently getting them, but there are times where Dusknoir's prized or Dusclops is prized, and you have a lot more time on your hands, which is very nice. I've just gone out of my score, 1 second. Yes, so, and then we will go on to my next match, which was Gardevoir. This was a very bad match for me. I opened pump. I managed to kill Ralts Monkey and then Ralts. But after that, they go Monkey over, then kill my Wellspring with Guardy, leaving no damage on the Guardy, so not even Pikachu will kill it. I hit them for 240 with Terapagos, and then they just go, okay, move the damage back, knock out. If they get Guardy out and you're not playing the Mawile variant, the game becomes very hard to win. So the idea is, don't let them get Guardy, but they were benching 3 Ralts at a time, and there's no way I can kill all 3 Ralts in a turn. They hit Rare Candy Guardy, and my game slowly went over, which was very annoying, but at the end of the day, it's one matchup I was okay going into it, but okay, maybe this isn't the best, but we can still win if we can get pump. Like, the Henry Chow list plays 2 Ralts, which was kind of what I was hoping to face, because it means they can't respond. If I pump them both, they have to Night Stretcher or Super Rod, then I can pump again, and it's just applying that constant pressure with Torrential Pump. My only issue was the fact that he had 2 Evo, he was consistently getting Curlier out, and then he was playing. So let's say the board is Curly Ralts. Even if I double kill Curlier, he plays Rare Candy, and he can he goes Mew, Fez, his draw spore, and I can't do anything. The deck, for a deck that only plays 2 Candy, they managed to get Candy Guardy a lot, which isn't great again, but there's not much you can do. So this got us day 2, and so the Pult Noir we played was the first round of day 2. So they play this at the end of day 1, but very tired at this point. But my opponent opened Bloodmoon Ursaluna. They chose first, as Pult is optimal into us, and our play against Pult is just pump, leaves Clefairy again. So you just stick into that torrential pump attack and go in, kill Double Dreepy or kill Badoo Dreepy. But they open Bloodmoon Pass. I set up my full board Hoothoot. I think I had 3 Hootoots, a Wellspring, and a Terapagos, and a Fan Rotom in the active. And they just went. Their next turn was attached to Bloodmoon Pass. I finished the game with Pikachu, Area 0 Pikachu, Crispin Crystal game. Game 2, I opened a Hoothoot in the active and went first. I went Hoothoot, bench another Hoothoot, pass. And the top card of my deck, I topped at Wellspring. I already had a Noctowl in hand, so I was able to settle Pump for 2 Dreepies. And then he went Catch a Noctowl, Jam and Tower Badoo, which was very annoying, but I top decked another Noctowl. I had the Area 0 in hand. I bumped the Area 0, get Air Balloon Crispin. So I Crispin onto. So this is game 2. So we've got a Crystal on the Wellspring, and we just got Air Balloon Crispin. So we knock the stadium move, we retreat, and we can attach again 2 more to Wellspring to get another torrential pump off. This was very weird because he managed to take a 3-prize turn with Hawlucha and Monkey Dory. I believe he went Hawlucha. He benched them. I don't think he used the monkey. He benched the monkey. Went Hawlucha on my Teal mask and my Hoothoot. Counter captured the Teal mask and went 260 for the knockout, which was a very nice play. 3 prizes, and then I just respond with Lillie's Crispin, and his Pult dies. He's got no other cloak on board, and I know since the latest Pult lists have come out, they're not really playing Rare Candy, so I didn't expect him to set up another Pult, which he didn't, and then I just went Wellspring, killed the Skull Dracloak, and it was a very short game. Which normally the Pult Noir matchup can be unfavoured, as late game they can take heavy prize turns and there's not a lot you can do. But apart from that, everything is normally fine. And then we played Calvin Connor, great player. Game 1 I won. I Lillies to 6 and hit the exact 6 cards I needed, which was absolutely amazing. And then game 2 we opened Secret Box Watchtower. Game 3 open Secret Box Watchtower. There was not a lot I could do at all, so that was over very quick because it was open Fan Rotom. On the turn I got to choose, so I went game 1 win. He chose first because it's optimal for them to take first against Terapagos because they want to try and get Watchtower up before you can even make a play. So they go. When he chose to go first, he went Watchtower, so I've opened the game with Hootoots, yes, but then when the Noctowls come into play, they're not any use because the ability is stopped by Watchtower. I scooped that game after 3 turns because there was no way of me getting an Area 0 out, and I couldn't just rely on top decks when he had 2 Guardies on board and a Jelly Scent. Game 3, I went first. I set up my Hootoots again, but it was Secret Box Watchtower, and again, if we look at the list, there's not a lot you can do. When and the Diancie Bravery Charm, unless you play Mawile again, is very hard to kill. But the Watchtower completely switches off everything I plan to do and makes my game very difficult. So that was a very fast loss. And then we played another Dawnzard. I bricked completely in that game. It was open Hoothoot pass. Next game, open Hoothoot pass. And I got Fan Rotom both times. It was a very slow game, very boring game. And I did not have the best of time, but you do break sometimes, and it's got to happen. So we just move past that. Hunter North, he was on Pult Noir, Again, this was a very torrential pump heavy matchup. So we went turn 1 Fan Rotom, set up everything. Turn 2 pump, we killed two Dreepies, and then he went Badoo, counter catcher, Jammer Tower. Again, unless I have the cards in hand, which I did, it is very difficult to get out of. But we just went Air Balloon Crispin from the Noctowl after we put an Area Zero in play, and we were able to kill Badoo Dreepy again, and then he scooped because he had no way of setting up a Dreepy. We go to game 2, he opts to go first, he sets up, turn 2 he goes Rare Candy Pult, takes a double knockout on my Hoothoot with the Hawlucha, and I managed to go Crispin, Lillie's knockout pull, and because he'd gone so aggressive and gone Rare Candy Dragapult, he had no response to his Pult dying, so just had to go to Badoo, which in response I was able to go just boss the Dracloaks that he had on board and take them out with Lilies, and he scooped again, and it was very fast. I would like to say a lot of people with Terabox did end up day 1. They went like hit Guardy, Pult, Zard, Guardy, every meta deck. I got very lucky with my matchups, especially in decks like maybe Greninja and Venusaur. And then I beat another Donzard. I won't go into too much depth because we already spoke about 2 of these. But however, this opponent did play a Wellspring, which was very annoying as he was able to kill multiple Hootoots. But we are both doing this to each other, so he goes kill my Hootoots, but he's set no Charmanders up, he's got no Pidgey, so I just go respond with Terapagos knockout. And then he has no board state, he benches another Hoothoot and passes. So his board, the only thing he's got on his board is Hoothoot. I go Crispin Crystal, pump, and it is game. Game 2, he goes first. He opens Ditto, which was very good, sets up Wellspring, takes out both my Hootoots, and I only have a Terapagos on the bench. So I scooped and went game 3, chose first, set up all my Hootoots, turn 2, boss knock, double Hoothoot, and he had 1 Charmander on the board. He went Rare Candy Zard, knock out my Wellspring. I was able to set up my Iron Leaves. My Iron Leaves helped so much here because I was just able to consistently knock out Charizards. So I set up the Iron Leaves, 2 Grass and 1 Lightning. And then I was able to next turn go double Teal Dance, Teal, attach manually to one of them, Night Stretcher Iron Leaves, do it again, and he wasn't able to do anything, which was very good. And then I believe my last matchup was Venusaur, which I needed, I'll go to the deck list, I needed Bloodmoon for game. I'd taken 5 prize cards, I needed 1 more prize for game, my last prize card was Bloodmoon. But, so game 1, I won very quickly. It was double pump, Badoo, Toadschool, and then double pump, Chikorita, Bulbasaur. He just couldn't set up a board. I think he braked quite a bit, to be fair. And then game 2, I opened Fan Rotom, set everything up, but the Regigigas took over that match and absolutely obliterated all my terrors. He got Venusaur and Megadium out turn 2, which was absolutely extraordinary. And then game 3, game was very back and forth all game. He got the Toadschool out, so I wasn't able to Night Stretcher, and my Bloodmoon was my last prize card, which I didn't check correctly. So I went to Nest Ball at the end of my last turn and went, oh no, the Bloodmoon isn't here, and all my energies were in the discard, so I wasn't able to set anything up, which was very unfortunate. But again, this player played very well, not salty at all, but it was more of a case of the Bloodmoon being the last card in the prizes changed everything, which was very annoying because I could have knocked the active, I think, was Genesect, and all my energy was in. I couldn't Night Stretcher, my Super Rod was in the discard. I couldn't do anything, and that was game. And now on to what I would do for this deck. I would add Mega Mawile to this deck, personally, just because the first attack for 2 steel allows you to do 80 damage for each prize card you have taken, which is amazing because it kills the Diancie very easily, especially because of weakness. And in the middle of this format, before we rotate and we still have Guardy with Ascended Heroes, it kills Guardy when you've taken 4 prizes, which is absolutely insane for this match because your idea is to go Torrential Pump, Mawile. Otherwise, killing Guardy is very difficult. And then you have matchups like, I'm trying to think, Lucario will be a big matchup. It's still great. Lillie's Clefairy sorts most of that out. But you do lose the Super Rod, you lose the Vessel. A possible energy search will be good for this deck because searching out single energies without having to use your support for turn, as in Crispin, is huge. And maybe a possibility of a Repel. I believe it does the same thing as Iron Bundle. It's an item that makes your opponent switch, because having to boss to be able to do the pump correctly is never great. And also the loss of EUIC is draw support that goes. But I believe a lot of Tera boxes post-rotation are going a more heavy deck on Lillie's Clefairy and Teal masks, because most of the format after rotation will be dark based and fighting based, which is great because both are weak to Grass and Psychic, which is why this deck does so well against so many matchups. It can always find a way to hit a weakness. So for example, against Zard I always go Iron Leaves, but obviously Zard won't be in the matchup, Zard won't be in the rotation, which is fine. But there'll be decks like Lucario that we're taking 3 prizes with Lily's Clefairy, which is great. And there'll be decks like Zoroark where we're easily taking the weakness shots. Even Pikachu does that, to be fair. And the Meowth from Perfect Order comes out, which is when you put this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, search your deck for a supporter. This is obviously great because it saves so much reliability on Noctowls, which is what this deck sometimes struggles with, especially with Watchtower, because it just makes... Obviously, Watchtower will stop Mawile as well, but Bump Stadium, Mawile, and Noctowl, it means you can search things like Crystal Ultra Ball, or Crystal Poffin, or Crystal whatever you need, and still be able to get that support like Lillie's or Crispin. However, we do lose Nest Ball, which is the big topic for this deck. Pokepad will be the replacement, but it's just maybe an addition of a Tera Orb. As Nest Ball goes, Pokepads can only get non-rule box, so your Hoothoot, your Fan Rotoms, your Noctowls, but not your big attackers like Wellspring, Terapagos, Pikachu, Bloodmoon, and it's just not doable. So yes, maybe a Tera Orb, or we might have to look at maybe using a supporter that searches for EXs, maybe like a Cyrano that can get, because Meowth would be good, searches Cyrano, gets Terapagos, Fez, Latias, I don't know, 3 EXs that help you in the situation you're in. But yes, I just wanted to share my thoughts on my Tera box list and how it got me to day 2 at EUIC, which I was very happy with, my first EUIC. And it is a deck I believe is slept on. People don't respect the deck as much as I believe it deserves the respect. And I hope this deck becomes even bigger than it is now after rotation, just because purely it's an amazing deck with a lot of different angles. Yes, it's a high skill deck, but it will always hold a place where it looks at matchups. Yes, the Guardy one with Mawile is, I'd say, very balanced, maybe even favoured. But there isn't a matchup where Terabox goes, oh, that's not great, or that's awful. Maybe some matches aren't amazing, but there's always a way out. So people said to me, oh, Bolt's an awful matchup for you. I went, why? I just Crown Opal. And yes, they can go, like, take a 2/2/2 quicker than you, especially if you prize the Terapagos. And people say Guardy was bad. Yes, because I didn't play the Noctowl, fair enough. But not the Noctowl, the Mawile. And if you can add these cards to your deck, especially the Mawile for Guardy, while we're in the midst of the pre-rotation and Ascended Heroes, the Mawile is probably a definite addition, which I will be looking at. But apart from that, I do believe it is a solid deck that people should have a look at. And especially before rotation, where we've got the cool cards like the Dittos and the Nest Balls, it's still in rotation, and it's just a good... It is right now a good solid build. Obviously, it will change a lot after rotation, which I am very excited for. I will be playing it, and hopefully getting more good finishes in competitions. Thanks all for watching, and I will see you soon.